Hello. Wow, Fern.
Yeah, it's a heavy one.
That's a heavy one.
It's a heavy one.
It's heartbreaking, and I'm going to give people a minute to turn on their cameras.
Hi.
Not turn on their cameras. Hang
Sorry
on
about
one
that,
second.
guys.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
If you'll hang on a second, I'm giving people a minute to raise their hands and ask some questions. Um, I wanted to tell you how gorgeous a film it was, but how heartbreaking it was.
hmm Yes, it is.
And how many places you must have been and how many times your heart must have broken.
Well, let me give you a little bit of good news because we all could use a little bit of good news these days. There's a bill before the Canadian Parliament. It was called the Jane Goodall Act, and it's now called S15. And I mean, Trump did one good thing. One good thing, the Liberals looked like they were going to lose the election, and then then Trudeau stepped down, and Mark Carney took his place, and there's a lot of really very positive feelings about him, and it looks like the Liberals are going to win. And why that's important is that the Liberals have put forth a very progressive bill, and when it passes, and it will pass, that's a commitment that the Liberal Party made, is that Canada will be the first country in the world to end elephant and great ape captivity. So that's some very good news.
Wow, that is
Mhm,
very good news.
mhm, mhm.
For that will be for how for that one, not all of
Well,
Canada.
I mean, there are four zoos in Canada that have elephants. The African lion safari is one of the biggest breeder of elephants in North America. And certainly hoping that in this film, now that this film is out, that they'll have the same fate as Marineland. Marineland is a place in Niagara Falls that had dolphins and whales and did shows, and they're no longer in business. And because what was it, about 5 years ago, based on Blackfish, another bill passed called the Free Willy Act, where no more dolphins and whales in Canada. And so that was closed down. Now, unfortunately, these acts are grandfathered, which means that the whales and dolphins and elephants and great apes that are already in Canada remain. We're going to fight. I mean, unfortunately for the whales and dolphins, there's really no place to go. There's a sanctuary that is opening in Nova Scotia, but I'm not sure when. It may take a few more years, but we'll fight to get them there. And then for these elephants as well, we'll fight to get them to sanctuary if there's enough sanctuaries to take these 17 elephants. But I mean, we have to hold on to some good news because we're the first country in the world to end elephant and great ape captivity, and only five in the world to end the captivity of whales and dolphins. So I didn't know that when I made this film. I didn't know about the Jane Goodall Act. It all just happened at a perfect time. So there was real symmetry in that.
Wow. And the question I have is, when you go to these places, do you don't do the research for the company, for the zoos or for the animal rights people. You go to the animal rights people and see what they've researched for their sanctuaries, and how have you found the sanctuaries versus the zoos? And then I'll.
I do with every documentary I usually do about a year worth of research,
Uh-huh.
because when I do these difficult films, I have to make sure that all my information is 1,000% correct, because they're already the zoos, and wait till we get to the States. I mean, the zoos are already incredibly critical of the film and trying to find anything in it that they could value what this film is. And I mean, one of the African lion safari said, I'm using my using this documentary for my own political advantage. I don't know what they're talking about, but they're trying hard to denigrate me in any way they can. So I have to make sure that every word in this film is 100% accurate, as I did with all my other films. So I do a lot of research, and because of the research, you find out who the top experts are. You find out what the best stories are. You know, what are the most powerful stories that you can tell? The Swazi 18 was one I found through research. I mean, I knew about Lucy. I knew about the African lion safari. I found the Swazi 18 story, the Non-Human Rights Project and their fight to take this to court. So you find the stories and you find the people, and then you decide which are the most powerful stories to tell and who are the storytellers. And so that's how you put together a film. And you know, and we certainly knew about or heard about the eco park in Buenos Aires and how that all came to be. And I wanted to put that in because I wanted to show people that there is an alternative to using live animals, and that is happening. And if they can do it in Buenos Aires, we can certainly do that here. But as Thomas said, who's the director of the eco park, he offered all the zoos to come and take a look at what they've done, and not one has taken them up on it.
Wow.
Well, they don't want to give up. You know, don't want. I think they don't want to be proven wrong. I think that's why they keep Lucy, where and refuse to let her go, because it's bullshit about that she's too sick to travel. Gary Dewar, who is the director of the Edmonton Zoo, was recently interviewed, and he said, "Oh, Lucy could live another 10 to 15 years, which is highly unusual for a captive elephant. They usually die by 40, if not earlier." And I thought, oh, she can live another 10 to 15 years, but she can't withstand a 3-day trip, 2 or 3 day trip to sanctuary.
Wow.
So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, we had Danny on here momentarily a while ago, and I want to give her a chance to read some questions in the chat. And then we'll go to Mark after Danny. All right, Danny, if you don't mind, come on,
Sure,
Danny.
we're all good to go. So the first question comes from Michael. Let me just get back to his. He asked a couple of questions. And the first one is, there was a preserve in the documentary. My understanding was that animal preservation implies a human hands-off scenario relative to animal conservation having human involvement with adverse effects as part of that. Can you give some examples of any preserves and safaris one can visit to experience wildlife up close in an ethical manner?
Well, the sanctuary for elephants, the global sanctuary for elephants in Brazil doesn't allow any visitors, and they are in protected contact. And protected contact means that the humans are protected from the elephants. There's always a barrier between them. And so the elephants are protected from humans, and humans are protected from elephants. In fact, when I went there, and only went there because I was there to make a documentary, they wouldn't even let me inside in the sanctuary. Only my cinematographer was allowed. So do I know of any places that allow elephant to human contact is not a sanctuary, and not somewhere you should visit. I mean, I've had let me just tell you, I mean, I did it all too. I went to zoos, and I took my kids to zoos, and I went dolphin swimming, and they went dolphin swimming, and we did it all. We went elephant riding. There was a place in Africa that said it was a sanctuary, and yet told us that we could ride the elephants. And since when I met sled dogs, and then I took home my dog and saw how destroyed he was from, for our entertainment and there for money, I don't care about, I have no desire to see wild animals. If I want to see wild animals, I can watch a documentary, I can read a book, I don't need to see them. I've changed my whole perspective on animals, and they have as much right to live on this planet than as we do, in fact, more, because they contribute to our ecosystem, and let's face it, we destroy it. So I think we've got to get our heads away from that. You know, I mean, I wish that zoos would take on, you know, what the eco parks have done. I know that they're using holograms. They're bringing that to Niagara Falls this summer, Niagara Falls, Canada this summer, where kids can learn about animals using holograms. But I don't need to see, and I don't need to see animals up close. I mean, I guess the best places you can see them is going on safari, the way that we did when we were in Sri Lanka, when we were in their space, but we were on a truck. But also having Lester there, he made sure that they stayed a respectful distance from these animals. But you know, I really have changed. I feel like, so we don't see them. So we watch them through documentaries. We need to protect them. We need to do what's right for them, not, you know, not what we want to do.
They have
So,
a right to privacy
yeah, I
too,
mean,
right?
it's not about us. It really isn't about us. So do I know of any? Well, you know, no. Yeah, and no, not really. And I guess the best places to go are in Africa, where that you can go on safari. And I suppose there is some positive to that because it employs people, so they don't turn to hunting or poaching. But I think the best thing that we can all do is support these organizations like Group Elephant, who was, you know, the director was in the film, who has bought land throughout Africa to protect rhinos and elephants, and free the other. I can't think of other organizations right now. Selkirk as well. You know, if we really care about animals, support the places that keep them safe in the wild. That's the best
Thank you.
advice I can
Thank you,
give.
Karen. I have one more question.
Sure.
Someone asked if your presentation is downloadable. Is Lucy downloadable yet or
No.
okay.
Um, no. It's being shown in Canada
Yeah.
on the streaming service CBC Gem. We certainly hope, pray that we can get it into Netflix. We certainly hope that it will be seen internationally. We've had a couple of celebrities support the film. Addie McDowell has supported it and written about it on Facebook, and Alex Baldwin did it to, you know, did it as well, which brings a lot of attention. Unfortunately, getting other celebrities who say they care about elephants, for me trying to reach out to them has been incredibly frustrating, incredibly frustrating.
Mm.
So, you know, I hope that I can persuade. I mean, we're trying with Pamela Anderson, who's Canadian and was part of PETA, but so far no luck. So we certainly, you know, we made this film. I mean, zoos are ubiquitous throughout the world. So we really hope that this film will be shown throughout the world. But, you know, we hope. But there's no guarantee that that other streaming services or Netflix or any of them will buy this film. So, I mean, we'd give it to them. We don't even, you know, these are nonprofit.
Mm.
These are nonprofit films. What happens in Canada when CBC, which is our public broadcaster, gives us the green light, and other public other public organizations also give money to make up your budget. If you sell the film, you have to pay them all back first because that money goes into other Canadian filmmakers, and I support that completely. So you don't do this for the money.
Right.
You don't.
Thank you so much for taking our questions.
Thank you. All right, Mark will be brought up.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, there we go. Hi. I love the documentary.
Thank
I'm
you.
a little bit surprised that so much in our summit here has to do with Edmonton. And I'm in Edmonton right now, about to embark on this hunger strike in 3 weeks at the Edmonton courthouse. And I was working with a few vegan activists here, and they were telling me about Lucy, because the zoo is like half an hour, 20 minutes from where I live right now. And I've never been to the zoo. But I heard about the conditions, and I thought we had made progress. I thought Lucy had already had clearance to leave, but if she hasn't, then I could try and make one of my demands in this hunger strike to the death. Like, I'm going to the death if there's no action, because I've been on 10 hunger strikes already. So it's very serious. And I feel like if she's, in these conditions, and you're saying you're going to go to your last dying breath, then I might as well do it too. I'm in the city, and we know it's a big issue here in the vegan community. And when I was protesting the rodeo here last year, all of us know about her in the zoo. So if there's any way that I could support you with the documentary through this protest, where we're getting permission to block off 97th Street, which is like one of the main highways here, right in front of the courthouse, that's 10 to 30,000 vehicles per day that will sort of be disrupted to create a signal. And I'm filing an injunction right now to make sure the police can't stop us, and to do it safely and stuff like that. So it's a very peaceful protest, and if it can help you in the city where Lucy is, I'm here. So I'm going to do that if you're interested, if it would help you.
Well, we're bringing the film to the Edmonton Documentary Festival, May 13th. So I'll be back again. I've already shown I was already in Edmonton. We're showing it again. And when I'm asking people, I'm not comfortable saying go on a hunger strike. But what I said to people is, please stop going to the zoo. Like, just stop going to the zoo and demand, that it's such a black mark on Edmonton and our country, because she's being held hostage. And there's just such a small group of people who, like Marianne and people from LEAP, who continue. I mean, they're just relentless, and I just applaud them. But I don't know whether, I don't know. I mean, we've got our own problems here, because just north of Toronto is the African lion safari, and it attracts so many visitors. But I wish that there was more people saying, get her to sanctuary. How much more evidence do they possibly need, except that the zoo has done a very good job of saying she's too sick to travel. And it was great hearing Gary say that she can live another 10 to 15 years, because that contradicts what they're being said. So I would just ask you to tell people to come and see this film. That's what I would say. And then we'll talk about it, what the people in Edmonton can and must do in order to help her, because it's disgusting. She's been there since she was 2 years old, and it goes against every part of what an elephant needs. I mean, and it's just reprehensible, and it's reprehensible that they will not let her go to sanctuary.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Fern. Our next question comes from climate healer Mariquita Solis.
Thank you so much for everything you're doing. I was truly inspired. I didn't catch the beginning of it, but I'm going to go back. And I volunteer at a nature center over here. And now I'm questioning, should I volunteer there? But I'll have to go with that later. But so I was with a naturalist last night, and I told her I don't go to zoos. And she went on about the benefits of the zoo. And she said, now the zoos have, there are a couple of tigers. There's a tiger that's going extinct. Now, if it wasn't for the zoos, this tiger would go extinct. And I said, why is the tiger going extinct? And she says, it's not because of human reasons. It was a very quick conversation. I didn't have time to go into anything. But I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what are your thoughts around that?
The zoos have done a great job with their propaganda. They've done a great job. I mean, there's all kinds of, we've gotten over 1,000 people talking about the film on our Instagram page. And, there are, I would say, maybe more than half now say I would never go to a zoo. And then the other part say, but zoos are all about conservation and education, and it's bullshit. I mean, I can't say anything more than that. They're elaborate prisons. That's all they are. They're elaborate prisons. And they've done a great job of fooling us and lying to us. And, I was able to, because it turned out really well that I wasn't able to film in the zoos except for one, because they didn't know we were filming as we were filming. So I was able to ask the questions. And it's just so, it's incredible what they say to the public. In order to justify what they're doing. Like, there is no wild left is one of them. And the African lion safari, she said that when I said to her, but how do you justify keeping these elephants in these small spaces where in the wild they need to roam thousands of kilometers a year? And she said, well, because they're born here, so they're different. They don't have the same needs as wild elephants. Well, that's a lie. Or that one of the people said that this is a sanctuary. And that place where you saw them beating the elephants in Texas, they also talk about that it as being a sanctuary. So if we care about these animals, again, I mean, they don't belong there. They belong where they belong. And we talked about elephants and the important role that they play in our ecosystems by keeping the ecosystems in balance. And Dr. Poole talked about that without elephants in the wild, forests will collapse. So each one of them, I mean, I focused on elephants because I only had 88 minutes. And elephants are the ones that suffered the most, even though they all suffer by being taken out or born in captivity. But we need to support organizations like Born Free that support the animals, keeping them in the wild. That's what we need to do. And the zoo has done a very good job of lying to us.
Okay.
And they say they're all about conservation. No, they're not. If they're all about conservation, how come all these animals are going extinct if they were all about conservation? So, I've changed my attitude, and I've become knowledgeable on the subject. And again, if we care about these animals and care about our planet and care about having a future for our children and grandchildren, we need to support them in the wild. And my Instagram is Lucy, the Stone Lives of Elephants. That's our Instagram.
Well, thank you.
I mean, this film just came out in Canada. It just came out. So we're putting together a package to hopefully get it on in a streaming service in the States and internationally as well.
Okay. Well, next time I'll say, let's have a conversation later about that. So thank you so much.
Tell them to watch the film.
Yeah, definitely.
Watch the film. I mean, and there's some people that you're never going to change their mind. I mean, just never. And that, I mean, people, if they believe the world is flat and you can give them all the information in the world, all the financing in all the science that shows them the world is round, they're going to still believe the world is flat. So I'm trying to reach those that are questioning it. And the other good news is that the youth today are questioning the moral ethics of having zoos. And many of them are saying, I will never go. I mean, my kids will never go. I went, but they won't, and they won't take their children there. So that also is a piece of wonderful news. And in terms of the Canadian government recognizing the suffering of elephants, I mean, hopefully other countries will take our lead. But that never would have happened 5 years ago or 10 years ago, never. So let's hope we're doing this before it's too late.
Thank you, Fern. Thank you, Marikita. We've only got 2 minutes left, and so not everybody's going to get to ask you a question. I can't tell if our next speaker is here, and so if somebody will let me know in the microphone here, then I know that we can take some time. So we'll go ahead, Max, and make it really short, a 10-second question, and then she can answer quick, and we can get
in 10 seconds as well.
In 10 seconds as well.
10 seconds as well.
Oh, okay. There you go.
He's okay.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Fern. I'm in Edmonton too. I know your documentary was here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it that day. Hopefully I'll see you next time when you come out.
On the 13th of May.
13th.
Okay, right on.
Okay.
I've been a participant in the campaign for Lucy too, but you were talking about celebrity endorsement, and I'm making some musical lyrics for animal rights to Paul McCartney's music. So I'd like to give it to you if I'm recording it with my co-activist here. So if there's any way we could reach Paul McCartney for his endorsement, that would be great. I know it's
if you can, great. I've tried.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, Max, we're going to try to do another 10-second question, and that will be, I'm going to go with Nicole, because you haven't been on and asked a question yet. Thank you, Nancy, for being so patient. Okay, 10 seconds, Nicole. Glad you're here.
Hi. I've been watching this conference all day. It's excellent. I'm gonna be at a conference, the Humane Society Summit, Canadian Humane Society Summit tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday. So, but yeah, I'm in Montreal area now, but I grew up in Toronto, and I remember the whole story of the Toronto Zoo elephants, and that thankfully those elephants were saved and brought to a sanctuary. Though there was a lot of pushback from the zoo, because the reason why is because the American Zoo Association and the Canadian Association of Zoos and Aquariums will not allow animals to go to sanctuaries because unless they're ASA or CASA accredited.
Oh,
Which is
Nicole,
really
I'm
silly.
Yeah, do you have a question? Sorry, because I know there's others. Are there,
Well, my
is there a
question
question?
is, how will the Canadian election, depending on who gets in, how is this going to affect animals further down the
Well,
road? I
because
mean,
the
I've already.
okay, let me just answer that quickly. The Conservatives do not support any, not one, animal legislation, animal welfare legislation. If they got in, the horses that they are shipping to slaughter in Japan, that would have been killed under the Conservative government, and also the Jane Goodall Act would have been killed. They fought against the Free Willy Act. They fought against the Horse Act, and they're fighting against this act as well. In fact, there was an all candidates debate specifically on animal welfare laws, and they were the only ones that didn't have a representative. So don't vote Conservative.
okay.
Vote
Thank you
Liberal,
very much.
please.
Okay, I still
For the
got
sake of
Nancy after
animals.
this one, so I'm not forgetting you, Nancy. Okay, Judy, go.
Okay, well, just real quick, I have a whole lot to say because we fought to get Tempo and Sunda out of the Topeka Zoo for years, and they ended up getting more elephants anyway. That's a long story. But I just wanted to let you know, my children and when they were little, I took them to the zoo, but they had to write their review and send it to the director of the zoo. And they're in their 50s now, so those letters are old. But it was, I thought it was important for them to go and see the reality of what zoos were like. Now I go to the zoos because In Defense of Animals asked me to go there to take pictures of the elephants. And it's always completely heartbreaking. Thank you so much for your film.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm very, very happy that I was able to make it. But I give a lot of, and I really thank CBC because they knew they were going to get sued along with me. But I really thank the people that are, there wouldn't be any stories for me to tell in this film if it wasn't for those individuals who've been fighting to free elephants for decades. They've been in this for decades. I'm new to it. So thank goodness for them, or I would not have been able to make this film.
Thank you, Judy. Thank you. Okay, can you do it in 10 seconds, Nancy? 10 seconds.
You're off.
I did.
Thank you so much. Just curious how much your compassion for the elephants, which was beautifully done, translated into going vegan, and what was your journey like?
No, let's just focus on the film. Okay. If you have questions about the film, ask me about the film.
Well, we're almost out of time anyway, so thank you so much. Thank you, Nancy. And thank you, Fern. We don't have enough time for a journey. That would be wonderful to hear sometime. Our next person is here. Fern, thank you. I hope that a lot of people get to see it. It's very, very.
I hope so too. I mean, just to kind of answer the question, the greatest influence, and I've met a lot of extraordinary people making these films for the last 20 years, but the greatest influence on me was my dog that I rescued from the sled dog place. So he was the one that changed my life. Okay, thank you all. Please share it on Instagram. Let everybody know. We have a promo that says everything as well, and hopefully it'll be, people will see it throughout the world. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you, Fern.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right. I am now looking for my notes. All right, everybody, sorry about that little space there, and thank you for your patience, and thank you. Welcome. Melissa Carpel, are you going to be doing a slideshow today? Oh, you need to, let's see. There you go. I'm not sure if she's made a co-host yet, because
Okay, are we there?
yes, we are.
Excellent. Okay. I will be doing a slideshow, yes.
Okay, is this something you want to practice ahead of time to see if it's on, or are you ready to just, I'll introduce you first, and then,
Let's do that. Yeah.
or we could do a practice thing, whatever you like.
We can go ahead, and I think we'll just hope it works, and if not,
Okay.
we'll just go with it.
Okay, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. Welcome everyone to the 21st Vegan Convergence of the Peoples. As your climate healer MC, Rebecca Allen, I am honored to introduce to you our keynote speaker, Melissa Carpel. She is she's implementing change in everyday life to create a vegan world. And she has been working with PETA for almost 20 years, right after seeing their video, Meet Your Meat. Her roles have been a few. She's worked as an assistant to PETA, working directly with Ingrid Newkirk, and also as a traveling campaigner. And she's now working with PETA's top donors and to help them with their philanthropic goals for animals. So please give a warm welcome to Melissa Carpel, implementing change in everyday life to create a vegan world. Melissa Carpel, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Dr. Rao, for having me. I've been enjoying the conference all day, and I'm honored to be here to be a part of it. Also, I had some surgery last week I'm still healing from, so I apologize for the bandage on my face, but I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to stop my video just temporarily while I do the slideshow, and hopefully we get everything technically working. So let me hold on one sec. All right, so do let me know if you can see
Yes, we
my screen. Excellent. Okay.
We see the
Great.
side view. There we go. Now it looks perfect.
Okay, great. All right, so yes, thank you for the introduction, Rebecca. My name is Melissa, and I am a philanthropic specialist with the PETA Foundation. This is my dog, Harvey, and he wants to say hello as well. If you can,
your camera's off for some reason, Melissa. Let's see.
Well, he's barking, so I thought maybe you had heard him. He just kind of barking at the door.
I thought we were going to look at him.
You'll see a picture of him in a bit, though. Yeah.
Okay.
And yes, as Rebecca said, I began working for PETA in 2007 as Ingrid Newkirk's assistant, and she's our co-founder and president. I learned a lot working under her. She is a force. For those of you that don't know her, she is still going strong in her mid-70s, leading the organization and speaking everywhere. So I did learn a lot working under her. So that was fantastic. And then I moved on to being a campaigner, where I traveled the world doing different sorts of media for the public, speaking on all animal rights areas. I led demonstrations. I went to Pamplona, Spain to protest the running of the bulls. And as mentioned, I did appear on a reality show called 30 Days. It was by Morgan Spurlock. It was the reality show of days gone by before they were very popular. And I had quite an experience. I'll get into that a little bit later as it relates to a little bit on what we will be talking about. And yes, now I work in development. I work with donors, helping people help animals through their philanthropic support. And I since have moved from Los Angeles to the woods of Western Wisconsin. And I live here with my partner, our dog Harvey, who you might have heard and might hear again. Our 7 cats, who we all found them from outside as strays, and 15 chickens, and who I rescued from an egg farm. And that has been such a joy to get to know these birds. I had never really spent time outside of an animal sanctuary, meeting them briefly. I had not gotten to know chickens before, who, as we know, arguably are some of the most abused animals on the planet, just by the numbers and what they go through for not only their flesh, but their eggs. And I had the great joy of being able to rescue 15 of these beings and watch them transform from being held in a shed with no sunlight, no fresh air, the very basics, horrendous conditions, as you all know of, and watching them transform by getting sunlight for the first time, letting them on the grass, they go looking up at the sky. The color of their faces completely changed. When we got them, they were sheet white, and their feathers were missing, and now they are just beautiful. And they are a joy in my life. And I also was able to rescue recently a rooster named Long Jack, who's there in the corner. He is the king of the castle now. He was one of those listed for free on Facebook because he was not fertile, and who knows what was going to happen to him. So he is the leader of the pack here, enjoying his life with his group of rescued ladies. So that's where I am right now. I also, with the beauty of living out here in nature, I am living amongst all of everything that I've seen in videos all my life as an activist. And I am seeing and hearing, smelling all of it now in person as far as animal factory farming. Unfortunately, we are in a very rural area that has a lot of farms raising animals for meat and for their milk and eggs, and pig farms, cow farms. And so it's really been an interesting journey for me in my activism that I live amongst all of that right now. And these people are my neighbors. And I'll get into a little bit about that later too, how that's affected me and also my outlook on activism. So yeah, I've been vegan for about 20 years now and an activist for 20 years, and I am happy to share here some of my and PETA's tips for everyday activism. And I know a lot of you are already in the movement and active in your own ways, but I hope that no matter where you are in your vegan and activism journey, that you can find something useful, because there really is something for everyone. And I can, imagine that you all can have some tips to share with me that maybe we can talk about if we have some time at the end too. If you're a little bit shy or anxious, not to worry, because as we know, there are tons of things that you can do from your home too. And I'll talk about that in a bit as well. So whether you're a person who likes to go in the streets or you're someone who likes to be a keyboard activist, we all can contribute to animal liberation. And so you all know that the very best thing that you can do for animals, the most impactful thing, is to be vegan. That's what we're talking about here today. And you can save up to 200 animal lives every year simply by not eating them. And so if you do the math through that, you know that there's something even more important that you can do with your veganism, and not just be eating yourself a vegan diet, but that you can be an effective advocate, encouraging other people to follow your example. So let's start off in the bigger, bolder, out there on the streets sort of activism that exists. So protesting and leafleting, that's something that if you enjoy being in the mix, being out on the streets, having conversations with people, it can be a very effective way of getting the message out. You can meet some like-minded friends, have, flex your muscles with conversations with others. And if you are interested in getting to know people, getting to see what's happening in your area, PETA has an activist network that you can sign up with, and will send you directly emails or texts with events coming up in your area, so that you can stay up to date with what's going on. Or also, if you would like, you can organize protests yourself, and we supply all the materials and help you organize it right on spot for yourself. So you don't have to be living near other people who are or a protest that's already being organized in your area. So PETA also has lots of videos, easy steps, instructions on how to be the best activist that you can be. These videos are short, they're to the point, and they just give some really good tips that we over the years have learned are, that are as helpful as possible for you to have a good experience and for everybody else to have a good experience as well. So the resources are out there to be able to get out on the streets and get out of your comfort zone and be able to advocate for animals. Another really good thing that you can do that also is putting yourself, out in public is to get involved in local politics. And so we are all represented on councils and in Congress. So we have to make our reps work for us. Calling, emailing, or meeting with your local politicians is a great way to advocate because they want to hear from their constituents, and putting an animal rights issue in their minds is the best thing that you can do and should be happening in all areas. So this can be especially effective at the city council level. And there's already a lot of momentum in a lot of areas for mandatory spay and neuter ordinances, for example, dog tethering bans, stopping deer hunts, circus bans. And so if you can talk to your representative about possibly introducing bills or supporting bills, that is something that really can get the momentum going and is bringing as many people as you can to lobby along with you. And so if you wanted to sign up to speak during one of your council meetings, that's something that I've done as well. And it's something that is also a great way to flex your muscles. You only have a few minutes, but so less is more on that. And, I know it's not exactly comfortable, but that is the system that we have the right to be able to go there and speak our mind. And so the council is usually very appreciative, knowing that you probably represent many thousands of other constituents as well. So the more you do this, the easier it does get. Another great way to reach a lot of minds and young minds who are open to this message because of their just natural born compassion that we all have is going to speak at schools. And I've done this before as well, and I've always had good experiences. PETA actually has a program called Teach Kind, which provides different schools with free educational materials. And so you can even host a classroom presentation on any animal rights issue you would like. That could be about maybe getting a school district. You can talk to them about banning field trips to the circus or zoos, or if you just want to get information to kids about vegan eating and maybe help their cafeteria have some more vegan options. I was a guest speaker at my sister-in-law's school. She's an 8th grade teacher. And I had the opportunity to speak with them and introduce the ideas of veganism to a lot of children who had never even been exposed to that before. It was a very gentle message. I didn't share any graphic images. I didn't really get into it. I talked about the transformation of my chickens and how, what they were their living conditions before and how much they changed. And that was a good, example of how the animals are not living well in factory farming conditions. And like I said, I had to be very careful with my language as we are in schools for younger people. But the message comes across. And sometimes the best way to do that is through vegan food itself. So I brought to her cooking class, which was the next period, the same students there, I brought vegan cheese. We made vegan pizza, and I brought some vegan chicken nuggets for them to taste. And it was the first time a lot of those kids had been exposed to vegan food at all. And just showing them it exists, showing them it's delicious and easy to get. And so that was a really great thing to be able to talk about with the kids. So for Teach Kind, if you are a teacher, or you know anybody who is an animal-friendly teacher who'd like to bring any of that curriculum into their classroom, it's all free, it's available. And like I said, it's a gentle message with compassion, empathy for children, and kind of tying in all of that into what they can do in their daily lives for animals. So the most important thing is just to know that it's not comfortable for a lot of us to put ourselves out there. And so effective activism sometimes involves getting outside of your comfort zone and interacting with people who don't already agree with you. It's a good exercise in not worrying about getting, people angry or offended or, nasty, and just stay calm and advocate so that people who are listening can hear what you have to say. And of course, you'll feel better if you are prepared with all of the knowledge and all of the, the background information that you want to share. If you do enjoy public speaking, I know some people do Toastmasters, and they will use their speeches for animal rights content. And so it's a great way to use your platform to be able to talk about animals, and people will be listening, to your speech and be able to get information out in that way as well. So you may surprise yourself and realize it's easier than you think. And the biggest thing that I've learned is to just try to be yourself, because that is the most relatable and most influential version of you. So if you are a little more wanting to stay home and, oh, that's not the right slide, that's right. But there's more armchair activism that you can do. You can be a keyboard warrior and an armchair activist, and there's plenty of things that you can do in your daily life that are still quite effective with spreading the message of veganism. Something as simple as language. As we all know, language is very important and can portray a huge array of messages behind just some very simple words. And so it may sound obvious, but we have to set an example with our own language. And I make it a point to never be caught calling animals an it or a that, but rather a he or a she, or use the language who. So if we talk about animals as toasters or sofas, it could be hard to convince people around us that they are sentient beings deserving of respect and care. And so it may sound trivial, but it really isn't. And it makes people think and will stop implying any inferiority. And it's just habit, it's not like you need an it jar with putting a quarter in every time, although if you want to, that could help. But it's just something to kind of, as we do in society in lots of other ways, think about language and making that small little change. So rather than saying it for a dog, you can say he or she. And then even further on that point, so PETA has suggested some updated language in some well-known sayings. You might have heard of killing two birds with one stone. So instead, we say feeding two birds with one scone. And there's lots of other examples. And maybe you can even come up with some on your own, because it's kind of fun. There's someone like, instead of putting a feather in your cap, you can put a flower in your cap. And this seems to be taking on in the public. I've heard just yesterday, there was a non-animal rights, non-animal at all related podcast. And they said something like, I was going to say, I don't want to beat a dead horse. And then I was like, that's mean. I don't want to say that about horses. And I remember that PETA put out a list of alternatives. So that you can say, it was like a bird in the hand, or it was worth that in the bush or something. And they said, no, hold on. Okay, it's kill two birds with one stone. Rather than that, feed two birds with one scone. And so instead of saying to beat a dead horse, you want to say you want to feed a fed horse. So these are, like I said, little tiny things that we can do, which don't cause, it's not much effort, doesn't hurt anybody, and it really just kind of helps reframe through language our views. So if you are a keyboard warrior, there are plenty of opportunities that you can use your writing skills. We need that so badly to advocate for animals and blast the vegan message out. Letters to editors are a great way to be able to voice your opinion. Leaving comments on articles with links to more resources, very efficient. People read comments all the time and will click on a link if you have for more information for the right information there on animals. And then also you can write to your local constituents rather than going there in person or calling them. You can write letters to them, which is also very powerful for supporting animal-friendly legislation. And just know that there are the resources out there for any area of animal rights you'd like to speak on. And you don't even have to speak to someone directly. You can let materials, leaflets, pamphlets speak for you. We have stickers and pamphlets and leaflets and posters if you want to put, there's lawn signs if you want to put something in your front yard. There are a ton of materials, and it's kind of something nice to be able to remember to have some in your purse or your bag at any point, because you don't have to be standing on the street corner passing them out if you don't want to. You can leave them for people to find and to read on their own in waiting rooms, in bathrooms, little libraries. Those are everywhere. Any place that you think someone might want to pick up this pamphlet and get the message, in the seat pocket of a plane or a train or a bus. And I've heard of one of my colleagues at PETA who has a stack of leaflets next to her front door. And if somebody comes soliciting with a message, a religious message or any message, and knocking on their door with their information, she'll say to them, okay, I will take your pamphlet, but you have to take one of mine. So that's a good way to make sure to also, I don't think anyone's ever said no to that, because it kind of catches them off guard, and then they walk away with a bunch of vegan recipes that who knows they might want to try. Also bumper stickers, those are a great way to blast the message out without you having to do anything. My mom actually has a bumper sticker on her car that says earthlings.com, which for those of you who don't know, Earthlings is a full-length documentary narrated by Joaquin Phoenix, and it shows every area in which animals are abused in undercover footage, and it is devastating and will change your life. And if you can get someone to watch that, that is very impactful. And so my mom, she had it made, she had it, I don't think she had it designed just on a website. And, hopefully as she drives around Oregon, people are seeing that bumper sticker, wondering what earthlings.com is, looking it up, and hopefully watching that movie and changing their lives for the better. Another great way to, going back, we have vegan starter kit stands, and these are everywhere, all over the country, and, with free vegan starter kits. And so that is something else that we do. We can have, if you were interested in having one in your neighborhood and maintaining one, we can talk about that. If you want to stock them, they always need stocking, and because people do take these, people do like free stuff. And so you might as well have something out there that will benefit the animals greatly. And the vegan starter kit is, it's very upbeat. It has recipes, it has lots of quotes from celebrities, it has some graphic photos, but for the most part, it's mostly very upbeat with the positive side of eating a vegan diet. So it seems to resonate very well with people who are pre-vegans. Merch. This is also another great way to let your clothing speak for you, and you don't even have to say a word. There are tons of beautiful and eye-catching t-shirts from both PETA, other organizations, or even independent designers and stores. And they can be a gentle conversation starter. One quick story is my sister, my whole family was on a vacation, and my mom was wearing a vegan t-shirt, and another woman came up to her and said, "Oh, I'm vegan too. I've been vegan my whole life. And I have a vegan son who was born, I raised him since he was born vegan, and he's right over there." And my mom was like, "Oh, wow, like come meet my daughter." Go 20 years past that, and they are now married with 2 vegan boys themselves. And so this t-shirt started the conversation between the 2 moms who introduced their children, who then got married and are continuing the vegan line with their 2 boys. So you never know who you're going to meet when you're wearing a t-shirt. And it could be that, no one says anything, but you still are making an impact as you pass by someone. That might be the change that they see, and go ahead and research something on their own at home and change their life as well. Yeah, so there's lots of other little things that you can do here, and just get creative. If you're a runner, we have the PETA Pack, which you can run different marathons, different races, and raise money for any area of animal rights, against the Iditarod, you can against SeaWorld, to go promote veganism. And it's a great way to use what your skill is, because that's what it really comes down to, is using what you have, what you're comfortable with, and in the mode that really resonates with you. There's lots of other little tiny things you can do. I know some people who change their Wi-Fi password, the discoverable Wi-Fi password that comes up when someone else's phone, is looking at all the, I'm sorry, not password, the Wi-Fi name. So it comes up discoverable in other people's phones. So they'll change their Wi-Fi name to Go Vegan or SeaWorld Hurts or something, to be able to, just get that message out and make people think for a moment. When I'm in the market, if I'm buying some vegan cheese, I might say to the checker, "Oh, have you tried this before? It's really good. It melts just like cheese. It's delicious. I make pizza, I make pasta with it." And then whoever's in earshot gets to, kind of, "Oh, curious, what is that?" They'll get a little curious and look and see what product that is. And all in very positive conversations. Or you can put a big sticker on your suitcase. That's Ingrid's suitcase, and she travels all over. So that message goes along with her everywhere. And as we know, that the most powerful message can be through vegan food itself. And so, if you're going to a potluck at work, or if you bring some treats to your neighbors or your vet's office, or maybe somebody's doing some work in your home and you want to make them some cookies, or store-bought, there's some delicious vegan cookies that are easy to get in the markets too. Just make sure you tell them it's vegan and introduce them to the fact that there is delicious vegan food on the market that is easy to get. And that's where we are right now. So let everybody know, and, the hearts are gotten through people's stomachs. So vegan food speaks very powerfully. Something that we all really are responsible for is being that person. If you see something, you have to say something. I think in some ways human nature is, there's got to be somebody else that's going to do this, or make that phone call, or look into this, or inquire about this dog. And it has to be us. I mean, if you see any act of cruelty and can prevent it on the spot, you have to do so. And don't assume that somebody else will step in, because that someone is you. PETA does have a 24-hour national hotline if you end up seeing any sort of animal cruelty, or if you see an animal mired in a glue trap, that is an emergency too. And if you need help, obviously first call the authorities if it is, and keep yourself and the animal out of danger in the best way you can, but stay on the scene if you can too. And like I said, PETA has a 24-hour phone hotline that you can call, reach somebody live. What it is, it's our PETA staff. We have a team who does this full time, but then we also volunteer as staff members ourselves to have this pager that 24 hours a day is monitored. And we get calls all the time. I mean, you get a call for every shift, at least, you get a lot of them depending on the area. So what it is that we'll talk you through finding whether it is a rehabber you need for a baby animal who's in danger, or working with the authorities to make sure that they show up on the scene if there is an animal in danger. But we're here to help, and just know that it has to be us if we come across any sort of animal who needs help. Now, whether you're leafleting or protesting on the streets, or even if you're just attending a family function, a work event, a friend get together, with anybody who is not yet vegan, you might engage in a discussion on animals, veganism, and your values. So when you do have that conversation, there are some helpful tips and reminders that can help make it as effective for the animals as possible. And I don't mean to imply that there's only one way to deal with all people. Obviously, not all situations will be the same. Some of your interactions will be a one-time and super quick, and so you'd want to get your strongest moral or argument right away. Or with a friend or a loved one, you can have discussions over time. Having materials with you is always great, leaflets, and being able to back up what you're saying. So there's just a few tips that I've found helpful when I've dealt with people who have different viewpoints that I do, and I am trying to engage them in a conversation about animal rights or veganism. And the first is finding common ground. That's something that I think really helps people open up to start off the conversation so they don't shut down and not listen to a word you say. You can say something like, I've always loved animals like you. And like you, I ate their flesh, drank their milk, wore their skins until I realized that what I was doing every day was harming them. And I know some of us were born vegan, but many of us were not. And despite what we were exposed to in the media and from our families and schools and mentors about the normalcy of eating animals, we broke through that. And so can the person who you're speaking with. I'll say, stuff like, I love cheese. I love ice cream. I eat it all the time, but mine is made from soy and cashews and almonds and coconuts. And here's why. I used to live in Los Angeles, as I mentioned before, and amongst many like-minded friends, like-minded people. Then I moved to Norfolk, Virginia, which is the headquarters for PETA. Now we're kind of spread out all over the country. A lot of us work remotely, but at that time, we were all in the headquarters in Norfolk, Virginia, in this big, beautiful building on the Elizabeth River. And all of us were vegan. So it was like vegan camp. And so it was like preaching to the choir for all of my friends and everybody who I worked with. And the potlucks were incredible, as you can imagine. We had some great food. But it wasn't really until I moved out here into Western Wisconsin that I had to have conversations with and live amongst people who thought very differently from me. And as I had mentioned, I live amongst the cornfields, the soybean fields, and farms where they raise cows for meat and for dairy, and a pig farm and chicken farms for eggs and for meat. And it has been a very interesting part of my activism journey to be amongst all of this. And not only that, but also to have to immerse myself in a community where they have been raising animals for their flesh and for their dairy for their entire lives, and their families before that have, and all of that. They are deeply ingrained in that culture here, which I obviously vehemently oppose. And when I came here, everybody kind of knew it was a little buzz in town, like, oh, the PETA girl's here, and this and that. And so I think that everybody on all ends had a lot of stereotypes that needed to be broken through. But as I said, I vehemently oppose what most of my neighbors do here, but I do live amongst them, and I have to forge relationships with them. There was a hunting contest for photos, a hunting photo contest in the local paper a few years ago, saying, send in your trophies of murdered animals, trophy photos. And I decided to make my own hunting photo of me hunting carrots in my garden. And I sent that picture into the paper. with a caption about being a vegan hunter. And I got some great response from it. I wasn't trying to make light of anything. I was just genuinely saying that you don't have to kill animals in order to forage and have food. And so my neighbor, who is a big hunter, called me, and I was like, oh, here we go. Okay. But he thought it was great. He really appreciated my kind of sense of humor about it, and also that I went out of my comfort zone to submit something like that, and it started a genuine conversation. So that was kind of finding the common ground here with my neighbors and all of that. And I'll get into a little bit more on this when I talk about the reality show in just a few minutes here. But yeah, another way to have the start of a productive conversation with someone who has very different views from you could be to ask them questions. And I like to ask people about their animals. You know, a lot of times these people live with companion animals and know them very well and love them, and they understand their complex emotions and their need for comfort, their feelings. They have the ability to be scared and hurt. But amazingly, as we know, every animal has that capability, not just dogs and cats, and not just the ones who we know. So that seems like a very good launching pad to have a conversation with somebody talking about their companion animals, because they immediately will understand the emotional capacity of their animals. And you can lead that into how chickens and calves and pigs and fish, all animals have the ability to have this emotional capacity and deserve to live a life of their own, of freedom, and in forging their own family, and living a natural life. So that can be a good way to start a positive conversation. And also was touched on earlier in this conference too, about how sometimes it can be overwhelming when you talk about the billions of animals who are killed every year for their flesh. And instead, if you can paint the picture of one animal, that sometimes really helps people relate to who might be on their plate. It personifies and helps to really have somebody visualize the plight of the animals. And so going back to words, as we know, words are so important. So you have to choose your words carefully and use descriptive and accurate accounting language in any way that you can. So, this is a strong example here of, what you might say, what happens to animals is really horrible. And yes, it is, absolutely. But that doesn't paint a picture for someone. And if you only have that short conversation with somebody and you want to really have everything that you say be as impactful as possible for the animals, you might want to paint more of a picture with your words. Something like live chickens are hung upside down by their broken legs in metal shackles, and many of them have their throats slit while still fully conscious. Some even are boiled alive in scalding hot feather removal tanks. I mean, that's a mouthful, yes, but it's something to that effect, of that being able to paint a picture to really accurately describe what these animals go through. So like I said, you might only have the opportunity to, have a few exchanged words with someone. And so you really want to make them count. And so that is one other way to do that. And then also, remain calm. When I first made the connection of how much I had empathy, compassion, and love for animals with what I was doing every day to harm them, I was raging. I was a very angry vegan when I first went vegan and first became an activist. I know that we all go through our the peaks and valleys of, our own journeys. And for me, I was really just angry, and I was ready to debate with anybody and everybody, but I don't think I was very effective in the beginning. And I learned very quickly that I had to take my passion and use it wisely, not only for my own sake, because I was going to burn out and burn bridges very quickly, but of course for the animals. Nobody really wanted to talk to me, and let alone listen to me about going vegan in that state. And it was not sustainable for me. So I learned that instead of angrily debating people and shutting them down, I needed to see myself as helping people see the animal's viewpoint. And, we're not trying to win arguments here for argument's sake. We are saying what we're saying because we know that we are right and it is just. And opening people's hearts and minds to what's happening to the animals is the best way to end the suffering. So how we interact with people is at least as important as what we say when we interact with them. And it's something that really it took time for me. And as I had mentioned before, I had the opportunity to be on this reality show called 30 Days, where they had different episodes where people, the premise was that you have somebody coming into a home of somebody else who have completely different viewpoints for 30 days, and cameras get it all. And so when I was preparing for this show, I didn't know who was going to be living with me and my family. As far as I didn't know what they did to be so different from me, a vegan and an animal activist. I was thinking, are they a vivisector? Do they work in a slaughterhouse? Do they raise minks for fur coats? I didn't know. So it was pretty stressful because I didn't know how to prepare. So I knew that everything I said and did would be on camera and also at the mercy of the editors. As we know, editing a reality show can really put somebody in positive light or negative light, depending on how they want it to go. So it turned out the gentleman who came to stay with us for 30 days, George, who's there in the slide, was a hunter from North Carolina. And so I, of course, was ready to hate him as soon as he stepped foot in the house. But I knew that this was going to be a full month of us interacting. And I had to come up with all the activities for him with going to protests, going and advocating and getting signatures for a proposition that was happening at that time for farm animals. Just living in our house, having vegan food and, advocating every single day. He ended up volunteering at a local animal sanctuary and met a calf named Sugar, who was rescued on camera with him and the crew from a dairy. And Sugar was in really bad state. They brought him back to the sanctuary in the cover of night. And George was tasked with bringing Sugar back to health. And as I talked about earlier, it was the effect of that one animal who really spoke the loudest to him. By seeing Sugar and understanding what Sugar went through by being born into a dairy where he was ripped from his mother upon birth, he got to understand the dairy industry through Sugar. And it was a really powerful show. I also got to know George very well. We are friends to this day. We still don't agree on a lot of our principles, but we went through that together. And at the end of the show, he said the words, I guess you can consider myself an animal activist now. So he had a huge transformation. It's a great show. This was back, like I said, in the early days of the reality shows. I don't know if you can just look on YouTube. It's not really officially up anywhere, but there is like a bootleg version on YouTube. Sorry, I don't mean to promote that, but if you want to find it, it is available online. And it really is interesting to see George's journey. So for me, I had to stay calm. I had to stay confident. I had to prepare the best I could for the animals, and definitely get out of my comfort zone. My family was not exactly on board in the beginning either. My parents, everybody is vegan in my family, but they were a little nervous having camera crews in our house, and it worked out very well. And it was a lesson for me as well with interacting very deeply with somebody who feels very different than I do. And I, work professionally to stop what he's doing. And so we had very fruitful conversations, luckily. So, yeah, as you go on your journey with activism, just know you are not alone. There are tons of resources. There's videos and books and online features and leaflets and mentors. And Ingrid has a great book called PETA's Practical Guide to Animal Rights. And as I mentioned earlier, you can go sign up for our activist network and get announcements of local protests or gatherings in your area. We also have a texting program that's pretty new that you can sign up and get texts about actions for animals that you can just take on right there on your phone. Or it also tells you about local actions for yourself. Excuse me. The biggest thing I think that I have learned is to try to stay positive. We are all in this movement because we are extraordinarily compassionate, empathetic, and understand the pain the animals are going through. And that is something that can easily be overwhelming. And we have access to a ton of very disturbing, a lot of footage and pictures, which I am so grateful for, to be able to share that instantly with people online, opposed to back in the day when you had to write a letter to ask for a VHS tape of the investigation and PETA would mail it to you and then you have to mail it back. I mean, on a click of a button on the internet, people can see what is happening at the, right now at the pyramids of Giza, where the horses and camels and donkeys are being abused everywhere, all over the world. It is being exposed. And I'm grateful for that. But as activists, we need to protect ourselves. And just for me, I don't look at things unless I have to, because I am in this for the long haul. I will always advocate for the animals. I don't want to burn out. I don't want to become hopeless and have to take care, and I just have to take care of myself so that I can continue this. PETA brings in a counselor for free sessions who is an expert in compassion fatigue, and compassion fatigue is real. It's a very real thing where you take on the trauma of what you've seen. And so we just really have to take care of ourselves, stay positive, know that we are winning. We are winning. I mean, we have come so far. In my small little town here, we have one market. It's a Piggly Wiggly and it's very small. And they have vegan cheese, they have vegan cream cheese, they have vegan creamers galore, vegan milks. I mean, this is a lot of what we have dreamed of. And I know we have a long way to go. There's a lot to do. And so we just have to stay strong, take care of ourselves, support each other, stay positive, and know that we are on the right side of history. So I encourage you to check out PETA's website for all those resources. Please email me directly if you have any questions or want to, have a question about any of the resources that I put up here. And keep going. Animal liberation is close, and we just have to keep going, and for all animals. So thank you all for what you do. And I will stop sharing here and turn on my camera. All right, there we are.
Wow, thank
So
you. That was wonderful. I've known a lot about PETA. I've gotten resources from them, but there's still more I learned from them. So I really appreciate it. I didn't know you had those little stands that people could put PETA information in. That's wonderful. I see we do have some questions. I will go with the people that have questions first, and if there's time, I have one from the chat. So thank you. Let's see, Allison, did you want to go first?
Yeah, thank you so much, Melissa. That was very inspiring. And one of the conversations that we've had amongst ourselves, and I don't know how many occasions, circle around the SPCA and how to be active in helping them to see the cause for veganism, whether it's environmentally or for ethical reasons, for the animals, for human health. And I was wondering if you have some insight or something you can share with us about your experience or any successes or any stories in regard to the SPCA and where they stand these days, if they have a stance on veganism. Do you have something to share with us?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know a lot of us, a lot of people come to animal rights through the cuddly animals, dogs and cats, and they're easier to relate to because we know them, we've lived with them, we grew up with them, a lot of us. What I do appreciate with PETA is that we advocate for the less cuddly animals, the ones who don't get a lot of the attention. So that is, I think, something where PETA and ASPCA do diverge. And then also there is, and everyone can kind of look this up on their own too for some more details, but there is a campaign right now that we're bringing attention to the fact that the ASPCA and HSUS do support promoting an organization that it's small helps in factory farming, but it still promotes the idea of humane meat or humane dairy, which doesn't exist. And unfortunately, what it does is that isolates people who think they're doing the right thing by buying let's say free range eggs because they have compassion for chickens. They're going to buy free range eggs. Well, as I think it was also spoken about earlier, there is a myth with free range. And I've seen it myself. I've seen these farms around here where they can technically say, this is free range, organic, cruelty free, whatever label they want to put on there. And technically the chickens have an access point to outside through a little door, but there's 25,000 chickens in a shed and they're not getting there and they're trampling on each other. But they get away with being able to label it free range or, organic, free, cruelty free, all of that. To me, that's dangerous because you're not allowing the people who have the compassion to want to make good choices with their food purchasing to actually do what they want to do, which is cause less harm. And those people probably would be going vegan if they knew that there was no option for them to, in supporting factory farming without, with still purchasing it, it is still cruel. So that labeling it's a very slippery slope. And I think it really isolates the people who want to be doing good and it doesn't give them a chance to really go vegan as they should. So that is another area that we diverge with them.
Yeah. And I was hearing earlier about the influence of bird flu on whether the chickens can get out or not. They're free range.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so let's see. We have 2 more questions, and so Nancy is here.
Hi, Nancy. I think you got to unmute yourself. Yep.
That was our technical problem. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy.
Thanks so much again. Thanks so much. That was so comprehensive. I've been working with PETA for decades, really. They were the ones who got me to form my organization and to go and make a radio station. When I hand out their leaflets, like I go through New York City subways and buses and speak out, even though I'm basically shy, I meet 3 contradictions, or people say about PETA, well, I don't want that literature because. So one question is, are they still putting the label on? I know that was the previous question. And I heard the answer about your differentiation between HSUS and yourself and PETA. But it seems like it would be good to take the label off. That's one. I get feedback about feminism, like, they're so sexist, and also about euthanizing dogs and cats, like going into backyards and euthanizing dogs. So just curious what feedback you get and how you respond.
Yeah, no, that I've heard it all too. Absolutely. And thank you for doing what you do out on the streets with activism. So the first thing, feminism, I will tell you that PETA is women-led. All of our main vice presidents most of them are women. It's obviously, founded by Ingrid Newkirk. And there is a lot of feminism because, you know, I mean, if you're talking about maybe some of the naked campaigns and talking about, is that what you were referring to with, yeah, right. So that, I mean, we do some of that. And, you know, we have a huge group of lawyers and scientists, and we do all of that too. But as far as like the naked, you know, demonstrations, it can be men too. We have men volunteer. These are all women who want to use their bodies to be able to bring attention for the animals. And there's different opinions on that. Sometimes that, you know, people do like that. Sometimes that works. But the fact of the matter is that the media brings attention to it. And we are competing with these huge corporations that have marketing budgets that are astronomical, you know, 25 times the size of our entire budget just for marketing, let's say. And so, you know, we are competing for the media's attention. And a lot of times, you know, you have somebody on the street with a poster saying, try vegan chicken. Okay, sure, but it's not going to get as much attention if you have a woman who's volunteered to wear maybe like a, you know, a kind of like fun combat suit with, you know, a little like, you know, not fully naked, but something that's going to, you know, kind of get a little more attention. And that's what the media, that's where we are. That's what gets attention. We will do anything to get attention for the animals. And, you know, like I said, we're competing with these monoliths who have these huge marketing budgets. And so we do what we can. But I can tell you that, you know, everybody does it. You know, they're all volunteers. They want to do it. And we're welcome any men who want to do it as well, too. But that is a very small portion of what we do. You know, when you think about our huge, you know, network internationally. And like I said, that, you know, we have a lot of attorneys and scientists doing very, you know, systematic changes, too. So that's a small portion of what we do. The euthanasia, that's a, you know, a huge topic and something that, you know, I think that is coming up now even more so. Let me just also say that PETA does not go in and take anybody's animals to euthanize. What we get called for is euthanasia from, we have guardians who call us and have a sick or elderly animal who they can't afford to euthanize their animal. We run a very small shelter just in our area of North Carolina and Virginia that goes around and helps people. We deliver dog houses, chained up dogs who have nothing else. We give them dog houses for free. We spay and neuter for free. And then we also do have euthanasia services for people who have nowhere to turn because they can't afford a shelter or a veterinarian to euthanize their animal. So that is something that, you know, that would make our numbers go higher. And then you have to look for quality of life. I mean, nobody wants to euthanize. I think that we're in a place right now where, unfortunately, the animal overpopulation crisis is so bad and people need to focus on spaying and neutering and adopting rather than buying. And that's where we are right now, is that is what the focus needs to be on, is being able to get the message out on adoption and spaying and neutering, because, you know, these shelters are overrun and the shelter workers are exhausted and it's really out of control right now. But PETA does what they can in their small area with their own private shelter, being able to go out and, you know, take animals in. We do a lot of adoptions and in the local areas, and also just advocate nationally on adoption and spaying and neuter.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question and the answer. And if you have time, we have one more. Mark, if you can make it really short, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, is it working? Okay, great. Yeah, I'll keep this very brief. I love that PETA's hardcore. That's what I always loved about you guys. You're hardcore. And I'm going on a hunger strike to the death if there's no action taken here in my city. And I was wondering if I could partner with you, because I'm going to be inviting the SPCA and some shelters of animals to this encampment in front of our courthouse. And I love that you guys know the legal route too, because if you don't know the law, it's hard to change things. And the reason why I'm going on such an extreme hunger strike, and I'll do it naked if you think it'll work, but I'm doing this because at the end you said things are getting better, but just 5 things I'm going to rattle off. Meat consumption looks like it's going up. I took a course that said individualistic choices over the last 15 years didn't work. AI is displacing human jobs, and World War III looks like it's distracting people. and studies are showing that concerns over climate change and animal welfare are going down. We have billionaires getting off the planet, and we have bunker services at all-time highs. People are preparing for something. So if there's a way that I could work with you guys to somehow make this extreme act as big as possible, I would love to work with you guys, because I think that we need to sort of get into the bigger actions and the political ones. So I just really hope I can contact you. And would you guys be open to that, working with somebody like to that degree?
Send me an email. I'd love to pass it on. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Okay, awesome.
Takes all kinds, all actions. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Great presentation.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness, what a day. Thank you so much, Melissa. And I hope that your fundraising goes really well, because I know that the people who are donating really care about these animals, and they want to see some big progress and in their lives. And I know that you probably have a lot of joy with that when the animals are rescued.
I do. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Working with people who are doing, and that's their part too, is supporting our work financially, because we, as you all know, can't do it on your own, and it does take funders as well. So there's a lot of good, kind-hearted people who have worked hard in their lives and are sharing their blessings with supporting our work, which I appreciate. Yeah.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you.
All right. We have heard so many good things today from, my goodness, we heard about small bridges and narrow bridges from Ray and Tobias. We heard about the big media this afternoon with Jane Velez Mitchell. We got to hear some comedy, and then we heard about Dr. Heister, who is battling trapping in Montana and wants compassionate conservation. And then we were moved by that video of Lucy. So many things must be on our hearts and minds. And so we're going to, before we close, I want to remind you to check out the Climate Healers page and go to Climate Healer For You calendar. And you can join us on Mondays, and we'll talk and hear what we each have to say. And now we are honored to have Dakota Mathis, who is going to close us out, and then we can all come on camera and wave goodbye. Thank you, Dakota, for being here. And he's with the Interfaith Vegan Coalition.
BJ, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, I've had a little bit of internet connection trouble today, so I hope I don't cut out. Thank you all for being here, and there's so much energy that's kind of got, shifted for me all day. I think I would just like to close with a prayer, if that's okay with everybody, and I'm going to turn my camera off while I pray. Thank you, God, the divine love that runs through each of us and in every corner of the universe, all sentient beings in life. Thank you for our chance to be together today as we come from all different parts of the globe and walks of life and things that we do. We have the commonality of working to bring light and balance and harmony and love to this world, and to make it a better place for everyone and for all beings. Thank you for the knowledge and the gifts that were shared with us today. Help us as we work to make big change happen, to keep our energy and our faith, to know that when we do have challenging times, that we are like a web all over the planet, and that if we ever feel alone, that we're connected to each other, and that we have the strength and the encouragement and the love that's in everyone's hearts here And we share our common goals of saving the animals, saving the planet, and returning to the heaven that we know is there and here within us. And I just want to say thank you again, and I thank you all for being here and making this a wonderful day. And as we journey into our roles that we may already be doing, or they may shift as time goes on, whether we're trailblazers or illuminators, protectors or hospice workers, and just if we can remain true to ourselves and just know that being ourselves in our daily life, we're doing the work that's needed. And thank you again, everyone, and much love. Amen.
Thank you, Dakota. Everyone's welcome to turn on their cameras.
Yeah, BJ.
But here's the happy part. We start to look within ourselves and find the loving spark. Then collectively with hearts aligned, we work to put the past behind. And with our minds we map it out, and big change comes about. Big change. Big change. Big change. It all starts with us. Big change. Big change. Big change. It all starts with us. Here's the happy part. We start to look within ourselves and find the loving spark. Then collectively with hearts aligned, we work to put the past behind. And with our minds we map it out, and big change comes about. Big change. Big change. Big change. Big change. It all starts with us. Big change. Big change. Big change. It all starts with us.